'Tis the season to shine with H&M. Discover the holiday collection and find fashionable pieces for your wardrobe or for under the tree. Get inspired and dazzle with this year's glam. From tuxedo styles, bow detailed pieces, impressive prints, and more. From unforgettable looks to unforgettable gifts. With fashion finds to home decor, find it all at H&M. Treat your loved ones and yourself this season. Shop in-store or at hm.com.
The kettle's boiled, Vic.
Great. Perfect timing. Just a dash of milk for me, please, mate.
Here you go. Shall we get started then?
Have you ever woken up on a Sunday morning and said, I'm never drinking again, and then found yourself waving $50 at a barman by happy hour?
Are you wondering why everyone else can stop at 1 while you head to a dodgy after-party with a weird bloke called Disco Dave? If so, it might be time to take a deeper look at your relationship with your reliable social crutch, alcohol.
On each episode, we'll investigate our own dysfunctional dealings with booze and find out if it's possible to stop this deeply ingrained habit before things get too messy.
Yep, we're going to open up a shame shed of humiliating drinking stories to help you understand why waking up from a booze coma each weekend with a kebab sticking out of your top pocket might actually be negatively impacting your health.
Hamish and I are here to delve into what it's like being sober, an unwanted warts and all look into why giving up those cheeky pints or putting down those mummy wines will make you feel happier, help your anxiety and mental health, and turn you into the most sparkly, authentic version of you.
Won't that mean I become boring though, Vic?
Well, Hamish, we'll just have to wait and see. I'm Victoria Vanstone.
I'm Hamish Adams-Cairns.
And this is Sober Awkward.
Hello and welcome back to this part 2 of our episode on friendships. In last week's episode, we spoke about what friendship is, Vic, and we also talked about our slightly weird, demented opinions on what we are like as friends and what we expect from our friends as well.
It was quite exposing, actually, talking about that, because I think we just kind of freewheeled it, didn't we?
We did.
And we realised that we are both extremely weird and vulnerable and loving, yet slightly disturbing.
Yes, and similar in ways that may or may not be good.
Yeah, I think they're probably bad. Our friendships are very strange, and we should probably stay in this recording studio on our own for the rest of our lives, because from now on, everyone's going to avoid us anyway.
Yeah, we ended the episode by talking about why friendships change when you stop drinking. So I think we'll pick it up from there, Vic.
Yeah. On the last episode, we talked about new needs, stigma, how you've changed, different chapters, it being so confronting to your mates that you're now sober, and about knowing what you want. So can we learn to accept these changing and evolving friendships? And is it okay if we lose people that have been dear to us? What have you noticed about your friendships since quitting drinking, Hamish? Do you think you'll lose friends, or that people's opinions of you will actually change?
I've actually been pleasantly surprised by my friends since going sober. Like I said, I got no peer pressure at all. You know, I think in my head I was going to get loads of peer pressure and I thought it would dominate conversation. Yeah. I thought if I say I'm sober, then the next 20 minutes has to be a conversation about why I'm sober, which I think is fine once, but then quickly gets dull. So I think that actually if your reasons are good enough to give up, then people don't question it. People don't peer pressure. That was what I think. You know, if I gave a wishy-washy answer rather than, well, I've had a kid and here are my reasons for doing it, then people might feel like they can lean in. I kind of feel like we live in a more understanding society. You know, we ask less questions, particularly I think around alcohol. If people say I'm sober, in my head I'm like, okay, maybe you had a problem with drinking, that in a wedding environment, that might not be the time to have that conversation. No. So people just accept it. You know, people are vegan and people go, that's fine. People go, I want to be gender neutral. People go, that's cool.
Yeah.
So I think generally it's easier to be different today than maybe it was 10, 20 years ago.
Definitely. Isn't that wonderful that you can be who you want to be and people don't ask you too much. And you know that when people do, they're not the right people for you.
Absolutely. It's still fairly early in my sobriety. You know, maybe I will get invited to less events or stag do's. I don't really care. I have a wife and kid, so yeah, I don't mind missing out on lads' weekends away.
I was going to say that, Hamish, like your life is like one very big stag do, though, isn't it?
There's a lot of dress up and there's a lot of nudity. Yeah. In a way, my life, you're right. In a way, my life is a stag do without the vomit.
Yeah, you don't need to go to a stag do and get tied to a lamppost in the city centre. You can just wear your mankini on a run and it kind of fulfills your stag do.
Oh, good. That makes
destiny.
me feel better about not having stag do. Okay, that's good. One of the best things I've found about my friendships in my sobriety is that what I say sober means a lot more. So I've made a really conscious effort throughout that trip home to say the soppy stuff that you usually only say when you're tipsy or drunk. So telling people that I love them or that I've missed them, all of those things.
Did they text you back afterwards?
Nah, no text at all. blocked. Please just send me a dick pic. Why are you messaging me?
He's just told me he loves me. What a fucking weirdo.
But I think, if you, finally... what I say matters if I say it sober.
Yes.
You're not just wishy-washy bullshit when you're drunk at a wedding.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that. Particularly I had the best man speech at the last wedding I went to was two good mates of mine, and it was extraordinary. It was one of the best men speeches I've ever heard. And I think any best man at any wedding will have everyone coming up to them, good job, well done, that was great. And actually, it doesn't mean anything because they're drunk and you have to say that's the best man.
So true.
So I said, look, guys, firstly, I'm sober, so I'm not bullshitting.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And then I actually called them the morning after and I said, today is the day you need to hear about how good the speech was. Not when people are drunk after the speech, but today when all the hype's died down. That was unbelievable. Well done.
Oh, that's so nice of you. I think what you've pinpointed there is that when people get sober, there's a level of trust. A trust that you don't have when you're a drinker. I didn't even trust myself, let alone anyone else trust me because they knew I was just a mess. So there, because you're sober, people generally in the room are going to trust you more because you're the one that's kind of compos mentis and knows what's going on. You're the one who, if there was a murder, for example, at the wedding.
I like where this is going.
You would be the one that the police would come to ask the questions because you'd remember everything and they could trust your evidence. Whereas if it was me and I was drunk at a wedding, they'd be like, don't ask her.
I like
She was passed out under a table.
That when you say that now, I'm thinking that's the best answer. At a wedding, if someone's like, why don't you drink? You're like, well, if there's a murder, if there's a murder tonight, I want to be the go-to guy.
Yeah, I've met the mother-in-law, so I think I better stay sober.
The mother-in-law with a lamp in the living room.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny.
What about you though, Vic? How have friendships and sobriety played a role in your life?
Well, I think nowadays I need to take a leaf out of my children's book, especially my daughter Nellie. I know you love my stories from the mouth of Nell.
Yes, I do.
She is very amusing. So I'm going to tell you about Nellie. She has this thing called a whopple.
Okay.
Right? It's a made-up word, came out of nowhere. She says,
word.
I've whoppled. I'm like, Nellie, what's a whopple? She said, I've just met one. She said,
quickly, a whopple sounds like if you're wearing loose-fitting pants and you fart. That is the noise that a whopple...
No, that's a fipple.
Okay, so a fripple.
So Nellie whopples.
Okay.
What that means is, I said, Nellie, what's a whopple? What's a whopple? Come on. She went, well, it's when I go to the park, Mummy, by myself and I meet someone that I've never met before, I whopple them.
Okay.
So it's basically making a friend at the park that you've never met before and that you're never going to see again.
Oh, okay. That's quite sweet.
Yeah, it's very sweet. And she whopples a lot. And she had invisible friends. One was called Jing Jong H, which was interesting. And I can't remember the name of the other one, but it was some odd name. So that's quite a good way
of... Oh, well, it's Jing Jong H, wasn't
Jing
it?
Jong H, and I can't remember the name of the other one. But she has invisible friends and whopples a lot. So she's always got mates, but it doesn't matter whether they're short term or whether they're real, in fact, because she doesn't rely upon them too much. And maybe that's something in adulthood that we need to learn, is that you can't rely on people all the time.
Yes.
And the kids, they're so like, everything comes and goes, everything's sort of fluid. So you can have a friend one point and then you don't have a friend another day and you can whopple.
That would be quite a healthy sobriety challenge, to try and whopple once a week.
I need to adult whopple.
Yes.
I mean, that's what I need to do, and be more kind of aware that friendships aren't always as solid as you imagine, and accept that it's okay to meet someone and never see them again. Which I'm not sure I could actually do.
Yeah.
It sounds weird. So yeah, taking a leaf out of the kids' book is a good idea. But I have seen my Nellie, I do think she's going to struggle a bit at school because she's a bit like me, where she loves her friends. And if somebody turns on her or does something weird or says, I don't want to play with you today, she does come home in tears after that. I mean, I can handle the end of friendships better in sobriety. I do have a bit more of a it's your loss attitude now. Because I know that if they don't really want to hang out with me, then okay, fair enough. It's not worth putting the effort in. So I am getting better at that, Hamish. And sometimes I can be quite relieved when a friendship ends now.
Right.
Because if it's gone weird and I'm still putting the effort in, I'm like, oh, this is too much. I don't want to do this anymore.
God, even the phrase of friendship ending makes me feel anxious. I don't like the idea that any friendship ends.
Oh, God, we are going to be friends till death, aren't we?
Yeah, we haven't got a choice. We could hate each other and we'll just keep it going.
I couldn't do it. I'd still be like, are you all right? Are you all right, Hamish? Are we okay? Are we still friends? Oh, I'm definitely more careful with my time and who I invest in, which is great. I mean, I still get ghosted sometimes, as we spoke about on the last episode. And especially if there's no explanation, that is a real trigger for me. My parents, I talked about, they have their 3 strikes and their out rule, which is definitely something I want to do more of. But I definitely have boundaries now, Hamish, which is something I didn't even know existed when I was a drinker. I was just like, come on, everyone, here's the party. I'm the centre of the party. Yeah. Let's all have a good time. And I never considered that might be detrimental to me. Yeah. Whereas now I have more boundaries in place and I can see what is healthy for me and what is going to hurt my feelings.
Okay. Before we focus on boundaries, there is a joke somewhere in being ghosted by an invisible friend.
Okay.
I haven't written it.
Yeah.
You need to write it. One of us needs to write it.
Yes.
The idea of being ghosted by an invisible friend is humorous to me.
I mean, how offensive is that?
I know. Tell Nelly. Nelly will come up with something.
Yeah.
But yeah, to focus on boundaries for a second, that word always seems to pop up. And I really believe it's important to understand that identifying, developing, establishing and protecting your boundaries is vital to your well-being.
Let's define boundaries for the listeners and explain why they are so vital to sober life. Basically, there are 2 types of boundaries, external and internal. Tell us what external are, Hamish.
Okay, so external boundaries are what separate you from other people. They are specific constructs you create to determine what is okay and what is not okay in your relationships. External boundaries allow you to recognise where you stop and other people start. You might think of them as guidelines that govern the way you interact with the world around you.
Yeah, that is so good. Internal boundaries are between you and you. They help you regulate the relationship you have with yourself. You might think of internal boundaries as self-discipline, which results in effective time management, mental and emotional self-regulation, appropriate behaviour, and impulse control. Internal boundaries empower you to follow through on commitments you make with yourself.
The sober you gets to create your own external and internal boundaries. They are designed to help you establish and enjoy healthy relationships with others and yourself. Some good boundaries: the ability to stay true to your sense of self, spiritual beliefs and passions, the ability to prioritise personal time for self-care, the right to change your mind and preferences, and alone time with no distractions or interruptions.
I can already feel myself in those, allowing myself alone time. I never do that.
Almost impossible with children.
Yeah, almost impossible.
Yeah.
There's so many things in there, like prioritising personal time. I just don't do that. The ability to stay true to my sense of self and spiritual belief. Like, I try. It does never last. So already I can see where I'm going wrong just by you reading those.
That is on my, every night on my to-do list for tomorrow is I'm going to give myself 10 minutes to do this breath work.
Yeah.
I have not done that in months.
You haven't.
And the alone time thing, genuinely, this is such a sad thing. I love driving to and from work because it's like the only time I'm by myself in the car. I can listen to a podcast, listen to music, and I really enjoy it. It's like 15 minutes.
Hamish, I'm the same with going to the supermarket.
Really?
Yeah, it's my time. It's my free time. I go up and down the aisles. I like it when there's a good song on. It's usually some 80s song like Madonna or something. So I sort of trot along the aisles, having a great time, probably spending far too long squeezing avocados. I make it like a date, like a private date for myself. Yeah, it's odd.
How did it come to this?
Well, yeah, that is the only time I get on my own. There's peace and quiet. It's lovely. It's the best.
I'm just imagining you with your eyes closed, just head up, squeezing avocados, moaning.
Don't imagine that too much. Some unhealthy boundaries are disrespecting the values, beliefs and opinions of others when you do not agree with them, not saying no, or not accepting when others say no. and feeling like you are responsible for other people's feelings and or happiness. That line, Hamish, represents both of us extremely well, which is why I drank, because I used to go into a room and feel responsible for the happiness of the people in there.
Yeah.
Isn't that ridiculous?
I totally understand that.
That is what we've been talking about right there. I'm going to read it again. Feeling like you are responsible for other people's feelings and or happiness. Yeah. That is where I'm going wrong with friendships.
One of the most liberating things I ever heard was actually Will Smith, who did a big post about...
Before Slapgate.
Before Slapgate, when it was still very popular. He did a whole post about divorcing yourself from the idea that you are responsible for your partner's happiness.
Okay,
and
interesting.
I remember in my last relationship being like, she's not happy, like, how can I make her happy? Or I can make her happy, but it can't last for weeks and months.
Yeah.
And thinking, that's on me, that's on me, that's on me, that's on me. And actually again, no, like, you're in charge of your happiness, I'm in charge of my happiness. We can try and help each other out, but fundamentally, that is not my responsibility.
If you would like to support the Sober Awkward podcast, we're excited to announce that we've joined Patreon. Patreon is a membership platform which allows you to give back for the content you love.
By buying Sober Awkward a cuppa once a month, we can keep the giggles coming and continue sharing our sobriety message.
By joining Patreon, you get access to Sober Awkward merch, extra content, special promos and loads more. Just find the link in the show notes or head to patreon.com and search for Sober Awkward.
And together we can learn how to feel the awkward and do it anyway.
And I thought, oh God, that was such a penny drop moment for me.
It's like a relief, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like, God, actually, I don't have to cook these people dinner and be disappointed. I can just not invite them over and that's all right. I can just sit and watch telly on my own and I don't get any repercussions from sitting and watching Alone, in fact, which is my favourite programme. My God, that is uncanny, Hamish.
Isn't
Yeah,
it?
so my favourite programme at the moment is Alone. Watch it if you haven't. It's about people being dropped off in the middle of nowhere and having to survive on their own.
Which is weird, isn't it? Because at the moment, all of the shows I'm enjoying are about serial killing. What does that say about me? You want to be alone. I just want to kill.
Oh, God, it's disturbing.
On the plus side, I can never kill you if you're alone.
Yeah,
so
that's
maybe
true.
that's why we get on.
We'll go to that wedding, kill someone. I'm just going to do a quote from Brené Brown because we always love a good Brené
do.
Brown quote. Daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves even when we risk disappointing others. Oh, we're learning a few lessons
She's
today.
spot on. She's spot on.
Aren't we? Gosh. So sobriety brings the ability to do just that. Not worry so much about what others think can make you strong in your choices and your changes. And that's exactly what happened with that Sober Women's Weekend Away. There wasn't any weirdness because we all trusted each other and because we were so open with each other and we knew we were all in the same boat. And we don't worry as sober people what people think about us so much. So it makes relationships a lot easier. And things like going out for the day, it was like you do what you want, I do what you want. If someone was going to bed because they were tired and didn't want to join us for a cup of tea, it was like, yeah, see you in the morning. There was no stay, you know, like chanting, come on, stay, stay, stay. There was none of that. It was just mutual respect, which I guess is what we talked about on last week's episode, which is that reciprocal agreement between friends is that you just respect what they do and meet in the middle somewhere when you do hook up. Yeah.
It's funny, I found myself gravitating towards the pregnant women at the weddings. As soon as it got to like 10:30, 11 o'clock, I was like, I need to be around the pregnant women. They're on the same like mental space as I am. To me, it felt like all of my friends at that stage of a wedding had bought a ticket to somewhere that I could not go to. They were in a different destination.
La La Land.
La La Land, we could call it. And I couldn't go there, but me and the pregnant women could sit around the bonfire outside and have normal chats.
Did the pregnant women ask for your phone number?
No.
Okay. I didn't think so.
It seems boundaries in sobriety will help you protect yourself and move on from people that no longer fit into your life. Let's hear what the cuppa members said about their friendships changing in sobriety.
Oh, yes, we always love hearing from our cuppa members.
We do. Shiny Sober said, that should be one of those she sells seashells on the seashore.
Shiny Sober Show.
Yeah, Shiny Sober Shed. I've definitely found out who my real friends are now I'm sober. But the friends that have stuck by me now see the real me, and we get to enjoy real moments together. Just pure joy and happiness.
Oh, that is perfect. Lisa said, it's okay that friendships end. she can still love them, which I think is a really important point. Thank you, Lisa. I know that it's Lisa who was away on the weekend, actually.
Oh, nice.
And I think that's a really important point to make, is that even if friendships change, it doesn't mean to say that you don't love that person. It just means that things have developed in a way that you couldn't have predicted and you've gone off in different directions. It doesn't mean you have to have hatred towards them. You can love them and leave them, if you know what I mean.
It's a beautiful way of looking at the end of a relationship, that.
Yeah. Whilst Mike said, in my sobriety, many old friends have become less meaningful. That can happen too. But the ones that are still meaningful are worth holding on to.
Paul D said, a friend couple of mine used to have a place in their refrigerators to keep beer for my visits. One is a non-drinker, the other is only a rare occasion drinker. Other than my beer shelf, they don't have any alcohol in the house. Now, they need a smaller refrigerator.
Yeah.
Which is good, save them some electricity. But changes in my friendship run the gamut. Some in awkward shock, some in denial, some overjoyed. But on my side of the equation, my friend relationships are far more meaningful. It's a joy to be fully present, have genuine conversations and laugh with each other till it hurts.
I love that one because it just shows the joy of sobriety and the genuine conversations. It does change friendships, but it actually does make them better. That is so well said, Paul. Cat Lady said, I stopped being invited over for Friday night drinks because her friends were worried she wouldn't have a good time and she wouldn't feel included, which of course you do feel like that sometimes. What makes her feel not included is the non-invite. Yep, we know that one. She said she would still love to go and talk shit with her friends and laugh and carry on. And of course, they know she doesn't need wine to be who she is. She says, I think the thing that grates the most is that we hang out sober all the time, at least where there's no alcohol, so they know I'm still the same person. I think that's a really good point, Hamish, don't you? It's like, well, I see my mates for breakfast and I see them for dinner. I'm still the same person. You know, I haven't changed. I'm not going to be less fun just because we're out when it's dark at night.
Finn says, I'm still showing up to drinking events with friends that I realise only catch up around alcohol. This is not sustainable. I can only wander around so many gin festivals to prove that I'm still capable of fun.
Yeah, and you shouldn't have to prove you're capable of fun. If you want to stay home, stay home. It's that being responsible for other people's happiness. Again, if you don't want to wander around a gin festival, then don't. Just don't go. Paul said, I feel like I definitely don't see my friends as much anymore. All we really did was catch up for a beer. I still have a couple of mates that I talk to and they sometimes call in for a chat, but I'm okay with that as I've made a big change and I think it was a shock to everyone's system.
We had 3 private emails from people that did not want their names disclosed that said they'd lost their best friends due to going alcohol-free. They realised booze was the only thing they had in common and they're still mourning their friendships but looking forward to making new sober mates.
Gosh, Hamish, that is sad but true.
Isn't it?
Yeah. I think that is a side effect of sobriety sometimes, is that you are going to lose some mates that you just drank with because you just don't understand each other anymore. Yeah. There's no mutual reciprocation there, is there?
Oh, that does make me sad. I'm glad that's happened to me. Yeah.
Should we stop and have a little cry for a moment?
Yeah. Okay. We should do that every episode, shouldn't we?
Cry, cuddle.
Cry, cuddle and get back on with the comedy.
Yeah. There were 50 comments, Hamish, and not too many of them were negative. I was surprised, actually.
Yeah, that is good to hear. All these newly sober superheroes have set their boundaries and have the capability to understand when something is no longer working. It's impressive, so well done. I'm sorry we could not read everyone's emails out. Just head to cuppa.community to read more. I've learnt today that some friends will like your sober life and others won't, and it's okay. It's up to you if you put up your boundaries and grit your teeth. Hang on to old relationships if you can find a middle ground, or accept that you no longer need to hang on to friendships that aren't right just because you have history together.
We often say that with sobriety comes clarity about you and your relationships. Just remember, the only people who get upset about you setting boundaries are the ones who were benefiting from you having none.
Yes, such a good quote. So what we've discovered is that you don't have to end long friendships if you still love that person. You can reframe friendships, give them space, come back to them and even grow together in different directions. If your friend allows it, you can meet for breakfast instead of beers, walks instead of lock-ins, and long lunches with genuine connection over rowdy piss-ups with consequences.
I just wanted to have a quick chat here, Hamish, about the importance of finding sober friends, if you haven't got them already. If you are struggling in your relationships and friendships, I think it is a great idea if you are newly sober to go onto Cuppa and find people that live locally to you, or find a local sobriety group, or go to an A meeting if you can, if that's something that you feel like you'd do. The best advice I can give is one of the biggest supports of me, Hamish. I know it sounds a bit odd, but when I gave up drinking, I started my Instagram page, which is @drunkmummy, And on that page, I only followed sober people. So it was a separate page from my normal account, and I followed thousands of sober people on it. And every day it meant I could log on to somewhere and get inspiration and get ideas and know that people were going through the same things as me. And now I would consider some of those people on there to be friends, even though I haven't met them. I know we talk about the online world as a bit of a, it's not the best thing. It can be quite negative for our health, but there are some aspects of it that are good, and it can be help 24/7 at your fingertips. There are people out there that are going to be going through exactly what you've been through, and they can become friends. I know on Cuppa people run events, we run coffee mornings, meet for a cuppa, go for walks, go for runs, whatever you want to do. I think the importance of finding people that are going through exactly the same moments of sobriety as you are, it sort of makes everything else fade away, as we talked about at the beginning of the first podcast. It doesn't matter where they're from, where they've been, their job or anything. All that matters is you have that one thing in common, which is sobriety and the struggle, and the fact that you've all had problems with alcohol in the past, whether it's a big problem or a small problem. You have that connection. And like the weekend away that I went on with these 15 amazing women with different stories, we had this mutual respect because of this one connection, and everything else fell away. All that was left over was friendship. And that was a really beautiful thing to have. Knowing that makes friendships a lot easier. I will say that. That's
what the Cuppa community sort of felt like to me. You're the only sober person that I know. A reality friend. But Cuppa, sort of this, almost everyone on it is sober, or at least trying to go sober or sober curious, and so supportive, and so it's like Facebook, but everyone's lovely. The only way I can review Cuppa is like Facebook, but everyone's wonderful. And when I was in England, I met up with a few people who are on Cuppa.
Oh, yes, you did. Of course you did.
I met Kate and Sherry Lou and Michael.
Yeah, Happy Without the Hooch.
Happy Without the Hooch.
Yes.
And that's his Instagram name, not just some weird thing that Victor shouted at me.
That is his Instagram handle.
And we went out for porridge to a place that I used to work at called 26 Grains, and it was so lovely. I've never done a sober meetup, and God, it was funny. Really, really lovely.
And what you realise is that sober people are the people with the stories. We're not boring. We're the people that have been there. We've put ourselves out there in our past, and we're the ones with the brilliant and funny stories. We're not boring at all. I bet he was funny, wasn't he? Happy Without the Hooch.
They were all funny, actually. All of them were great.
Oh, but I think so good.
The other thing, if you're thinking I'm newly sober and I don't have any sober friends and I'm not on the internet, I'm not someone that could do Cuppa or do Instagram or whatever, what I found helpful is being the instigator of meetups with friends that do drink, but instigate a let's go for a run, let's go for a walk. If you come up with the idea, which is a non-drinking social hangout, which there aren't many of, most of our social hangouts are a pub or a dinner or a meal that is basically boozing. But if we are meeting for a run, then it's a lot easier. That's the advice I would give.
And also I find people are relieved when you do that if they're drinkers, because actually they don't really want to go out and get wasted and have a really bad hangover for 2 days. They would actually probably rather spend that time with you and it be real and you connect and you have authentic conversations.
And that's more relaxed, meeting up with someone and not being face-to-face conversing. That's quite an intense way to hang out with someone.
Yes,
Whereas if you go on a walk, have a conversation, I find it a lot easier to get into it, weirdly.
Should we go for a walk then?
No. No, we have to record the podcast.
Oh, okay, sorry. I definitely think you can reframe friendships. I think reframing rather than ending is probably going to be the best result if you can do that. I have healthy conversations over tea and biscuits nowadays rather than spitty ones over ashtrays and whiskey. It's much better for everyone, especially those angry bouncers, Hamish.
Yeah, true.
We're going to end this podcast by, I don't really know. What do you think?
I don't know.
Because we're in this weird studio, so we're probably just going to, I don't know, what we're going to do? Eat some pizza?
I was going to sit at like the studio thing and make it look like I'm a music producer.
Okay, I'm going to take some
hang out with me.
photos. I have actually bought some cold pizza for us to have as well.
Okay, cold. Well, then we'll get pizza and all the fancy buttons.
Yeah.
But that's we'll say that's quite rock and roll.
The people would be like, not having them here again.
Yeah.
And then we'll lose them as friends and we'll cry into
And
our
we'll just
pizza.
text them as we cry.
What's wrong? What's wrong? Why haven't you texted me back?
Me again?
How are you? Happy, sad, happy, sad. I'm not sure what's going on. Are we still friends? Oh, thanks for listening, everyone. If you're questioning your relationship with booze, you're struggling to moderate, or your hangovers are causing anxiety, it might be time to reach out for some support.
Yeah, just talk to a mate about how you're feeling, contact a local doctor, find an AA or sobriety group. Vic's got one.
Yeah, just head to www.cuppa.community.
Remember, if you're questioning yourself, it might be time to seek support.
Even though this journey can be awkward, it is definitely worth it. And if you've enjoyed the Sober Awkward podcast, don't forget to review it, rate it, and share it with your mates.
Do they have to share it with their mates?
Yeah, of course they do. I'm not doing this for nothing, Hamish. Bloody hell.
How do they share it?